Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're exploring a truly transformative framework for parents, teachers, and caregivers. We are looking at the core concepts from Stimming, Causes and Solutions by behavior therapist Purnima Gautam. If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed trying to understand and, more importantly, properly support an autistic child's stimming behaviors, this explainer is going to be incredibly valuable for you. We're going to break down Gautam's approach step by step, fundamentally shifting how we look at self-regulation, environmental support, and a child's overall well-being. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this core philosophy. Gautam states that true support requires a totally fresh perspective on addressing stimming behavior in autism, one that emphasizes both intervention and prevention. And honestly, that last word, prevention, is the absolute game changer here. A lot of traditional resources out there focus heavily on what to do after a behavior has already happened, but Gautam is asking us to zoom out. She's empowering caregivers to look at the whole picture and make a critical shift from merely managing behaviors in the heat of the moment to proactively preventing the need for them in the very first place.
Think about traditional reactive management for a second. It often feels like you're constantly putting out fires, right? It's incredibly stressful for the child, and let's be real, it's completely exhausting for the caregiver. On the flip side, we have Gautam's empowering model of proactive prevention. This is the core paradigm shift of her work. Instead of waiting for a child to become completely overwhelmed and start stimming just to cope, what if we modified their environment before that behavior ever needed to happen? It's all about getting ahead of the curve, anticipating their unique sensory needs, and actively setting the stage for success rather than just reacting to distress.
So the crucial point is understanding how we actually achieve that kind of prevention. And this brings us to a key clinical term, antecedent strategies. Now, as the definition explains, these are methods for identifying and modifying the environmental factors that precede stimming behaviors. Basically, it means you're putting on a detective hat in your child's everyday environment. You're actively hunting for the triggers, those antecedents, that lead to dysregulation. Imagine a classroom where the fluorescent lights have this subtle, high-pitched buzz, or maybe a hallway where the background noise echoes really loudly. Are there sudden, unexpected transitions happening between activities? By finding these clues, you can alter the environment to remove or reduce the stressor before it ever even impacts the child. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it perfectly captures the concept of achieving internal balance and self-regulation. Think of a child's internal sensory state as a delicate, finely tuned clock situated securely within the mind. When the environment is just too overwhelming or their fundamental sensory needs aren't being met, that internal timing gets thrown completely off balance. Stimming is very often just a natural attempt to reset that clock. Gautam's approach is entirely focused on helping the child maintain that delicate internal timing naturally, promoting a continuous, really peaceful sense of well-being.
So, how do we actually maintain that delicate balance day in and day out? Well, Gautam introduces the concept of a sensory diet. A well-balanced sensory diet seamlessly integrates support right into a child's daily routine. It's exactly how those antecedent strategies we were just talking about are put into daily practical use. Just like a nutritional diet gives the physical body what it needs to function, a sensory diet gives the nervous system exactly what it needs to stay regulated. It's a tailored plan of physical activities and environmental accommodations that anticipate and meet the child's specific sensory needs throughout the whole day. For example, if a child is highly sensitive to auditory input, wearing noise-canceling headphones during a loud school assembly, that's a crucial part of that diet. Or if they actively seek out tactile input, keeping a textured sensory toy right at their desk keeps them grounded and comfortable.
Out in the real world, a sensory diet can be incredibly joyful, and this brilliantly illustrates what I mean. Imagine a child engaging with a colorful sensory floor path right in a school hallway. You see, it's not some clinical, isolated therapy session hidden away in a special room. It's a seamlessly integrated experience of play and regulation right in the middle of their normal, everyday environment. They're following the path, moving their bodies, and getting that essential proprioceptive and vestibular input in a fun, supernatural way. This is proactive prevention in action, meeting sensory needs joyfully before dysregulation ever occurs.
Of course, a perfectly customized environment doesn't just magically appear out of nowhere. It requires very thoughtful planning. Active parental involvement is absolutely crucial in understanding and supporting a child's self-regulation. The parents, the teachers, the caregivers, we are the engine driving the supportive environment. Gautam really underscores that you are the true experts on your child. It is your active, attentive role that turns these clinical theories into a daily reality. You're the ones observing, adjusting, and creating the safe spaces where the child feels deeply, truly understood. To help caregivers step into this active role with total confidence, Gautam outlines a highly practical 3-step action plan. First up, observe activities and toys. Watch closely what your child naturally gravitates toward when they need comfort. Second, document what aids in calming. Keep a daily log. Does a specific texture help them focus? Does deep pressure calm them down after a highly stimulating event? Jot it down. Third, tailor strategies to individual needs. Use those specific observations to customize their environment. For instance, if you've noticed they consistently crave deep pressure, maybe a heavy, weighted blanket just naturally becomes part of their quiet reading time. Actually, scratch that. It's more like taking the guesswork completely out of future interactions. This careful observation equips you with invaluable insights, allowing you to truly meet your child exactly where they are.
Now, we have to pause for a second and ask ourselves the big question. Why does all of this meticulous observation and environment modification matter so much? Simply put, because well-regulated children can channel their energy into skill development and learning. Just imagine spending literally all your physical and mental energy just trying to cope with an environment that feels hostile, overwhelmingly loud, or visually chaotic. There is simply no energy left in the tank for learning, playing, or connecting with anyone else. But when a nurturing environment successfully meets those sensory needs, all that cognitive and emotional energy is beautifully freed up. The child is no longer just surviving the moment. They are focused on growing, developing new skills, and truly thriving.
Let's move to and see how this builds into something incredibly powerful for the whole family, the positive feedback loop. First, you start with a regulated child. Because they are regulated and their sensory needs are actively being met, it leads directly to the second phase, skill development. They finally have the bandwidth to learn and engage. Seeing this amazing progress naturally inspires the third phase, parental adaptation. You learn more about what works, you feel so much more confident in your approach, and you refine your proactive strategies, which ultimately creates the final outcome, a harmonious journey. It's this beautiful upward spiral where everyone's growth and progress feeds into and continually supports each other.
As we wrap up these concepts, it's really important to understand the author's deeply supportive intent here. By emphasizing clarity and a conversational tone, this approach ensures the developmental journey is both enjoyable and empowering. Purnima Gautam isn't trying to hand you some dense, jargon-filled textbook that leaves you feeling way more overwhelmed than when you started. Her goal is to be a truly accessible partner in your parenting or teaching journey. She wants caregivers to feel uplifted and thoroughly equipped. This entire proactive approach is meant to transform what can sometimes feel like an uphill clinical battle into a collaborative and highly empowering partnership. Well, we've covered a tremendous amount of ground in this explainer today, haven't we? We've fundamentally shifted our mindset from reactive management all the way to proactive prevention. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative question. What environmental factors can you modify today to support your child's sensory needs tomorrow? Just take a look around. Think about your living room, your classroom, or maybe your daily morning routine. How can you be that proactive detective starting right now? Apply these insights, observe closely, and start building that amazing positive feedback loop. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I truly hope you leave today feeling empowered to create a supportive and harmonious environment for the children in your life.